Not getting your health and wellness questions answered at your doctor's office? Are you ready to take control of your health and well-being? Do you want the proper tools to set you on your wellness journey? Do you want to meet and chat with expert members of the healthcare team? Well, step into Real Time with Dr. Stacy. Hi, I'm Dr. Stacy DeGale, your personal physiotherapist and wellness consultant who wants to make sure that you live your best life. We'll be chatting with wellness team members and inviting you as you are the center of that team. And we'll be doing all of this while you are in the comfort of your own home or office. Join me in Real Time with Dr. Stacy as we discuss everything health and everything wellness. And welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here on our final episode of our series, Living Well with Diabetes. Thank you for joining me on Real Time with Dr. Stacy. And it's a bit bittersweet because we started this journey a few weeks ago looking at our health and wellness with regards to living with diabetes. And we welcomed into our family our diabetic nurse educator, Nurse Wendy Phillip. We had a fantastic time with our dietitian, Miss Tracy Jackson Brisbane. We realized that the eyes are truly the windows to the soul as we chatted with our ophthalmologist, Dr. Deborah Bartholomew. We had my colleague and friend, Dr. Vern Allen, physiotherapist and wound care specialist, who really honed in onto the value of exercise in the management of diabetes, and of course looking at the preservation of our limbs. And this, our final installment in our first season of Real Time with Dr. Stacy. I am so happy that I'm going to very, very soon welcome the president of the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Dhanoo. Before I do that, I keep reminding us all as to why we are here. And we live in a twin isle republic where there are over 200,000 persons living with diabetes. And we discussed throughout the last 2 weeks the impact that diabetes has on our health, on our welfare, on our well-being. And we decided to begin our journey together, looking at diabetes and looking at how we can live better lives with diabetes. And so, not to be monotonous, but it is to drive this home, the importance of knowing the importance of having a proper diet, and we can eat well in the Caribbean kitchen, of looking at all the tests that we must do to ensure that we stay healthy and we deal with issues before they become a major problem, such as blindness, such as amputation, such as death. That is the reality. And so I thought it's important that we end our series and this first journey together with Dhanoo, who I'm going to bring on screen right now. And I want to remind all the viewers that I kept saying, and I keep saying over and over, that the persons who have been invited to Real Time with Dr. Stacy are not only persons who are experts in their field. These are persons who have given their lives to the service of Trinidad and Tobago, and I dare say unsung heroes. And I want to say to you that I believe that Dhanoo, he's very unassuming, he's very humble, but I believe that he is one of our unsung heroes. I must say, before I introduce Andrew formally, I must say good night to Glennis, to Oma again. I have to big up Oma. Oma has been on every show. Jyoti, hi Jyoti, Natasha, and for all the other viewers who are here, welcome. And you still have a lot of time to share this live stream to get certain important pieces of information out to the people of Trinidad and Tobago regarding diabetes. So we're seeing Andrew here, and as I said, I believe that he is one of Trinidad's unsung heroes, a young man who is a lecturer of biochemistry at the School of Nursing and Faculty of Med Sciences and Department of Food Production. He's very busy, so let me tell you, for me to get him today, listen, you'll realize why. He, he is a teaching assistant as well in the Faculty of Sciences and Technology, Department of Life Sciences. He's currently the president of the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago, although he is the youngest member on the board. At the Diabetes Association, he has spearheaded so many events, including national diabetes screening, education projects, including the DATT Expo 2017, which was a massive and absolutely successful affair, the National Primary Schools Diabetes Quiz, and a variety of cooking competitions. Mr. Dhanoo is also currently a doctoral candidate at UE. He's pursuing a PhD in clinical biochemistry and diabetes research. Sometimes we go far and wide. We look outside our shores when we have certain expertise and certain people engaged in active research here. And he is actively in research with regards to diabetes. His work involves the investigation of non-invasive methods of diabetes screening and testing, which is of particular interest in screening children for diabetes risk. He is an advocate for health and fitness and is working on numerous intervention programs geared towards overweight children and their parents through dietary and activity modification. Now, after graduating from UE with a bachelor's degree in biochemistry with first class honors in 2012, he worked as a research associate and project coordinator on projects with Johns Hopkins University under the Trinidad and Tobago Health Sciences Initiative. He has also published numerous papers and presented at numerous conferences, including conferences by the Caribbean Public Health Agency, whom we know as CARPHA. So it is my greatest pleasure to introduce to you all formally Mr. Andrew Dhanoo. Andrew, thank you so much for coming. I know what your schedule is looking like.
Thanks for having me, Stacy. Thanks for having me here.
Oh I'm so excited. And before we get into some of the nitty-gritty, I want people to know you a little bit more and give us some indication as to why, with regards to research, that you went into diabetes as a research topic, and as well as your youthful age. You know, quite often we don't see young people spearheading large organizations, large NGOs such as this. So give us a little background as to why, how, when, what.
Okay. So like almost every family in Trinidad and Tobago, I was affected by diabetes, meaning there are family members that I would have had who were living with diabetes. All of my grandparents did have diabetes, and either directly or indirectly, they would have all passed away due to diabetes or some other complication before I was even at the age of 6 or 7. So having that impact and also seeing the impact of diabetes and obesity on the country after I did my first degree at university and then started to work at Johns Hopkins, I became introduced, so I was introduced to the Diabetes Association, and I started to work as a volunteer with them, started in Princess Town, one of the branches of the association, with Mrs. Raghbir Singh. And from there, I started to then assist to projects of the Diabetes Association National Board. And then from there, I became a scientific advisor of the association and then went up for election and became the first vice president. So I was the first vice president for a couple of years. And then about 2 years ago, I became the president of the association. So yes, I am younger than the typical or younger than the past presidents and younger than most of the board members. But I believe that a lot of young people are willing and and do want to assist. And we actually have quite a lot of young volunteers now in the association who wants to help. For example, I would have put out a call for volunteers just before the first wave of COVID-19 kind of came to our shores. And within 3 days, I put out a call on Facebook, and we got about 700 responses in
Wow.
3 days, most of whom were young
That is
persons on,
fantastic.
yeah, most of whom were under the age of 40. So unfortunately, we were going to train them, but unfortunately, because of COVID-19, those restrictions kind of put a damper on things. We weren't able to meet all of them in person, but we tried to contact them as much as possible. And we're hoping that in December, maybe as late as January, we'll start that volunteer training program where we're going to train some of those persons. And right now, I do have a lot of younger persons, a lot of students of mine want to volunteer, and they have a lot of um, they have a lot of drive, and they also, although they may not have as much knowledge in the field as some of the older folks, they do have a
Yes.
lot of passion for it, and the passion for it makes up. And of course, they learn about taking care, or they learn about the things that they need to do in order to take care of people with diabetes, or educate people with diabetes. So, and that's essentially what the Diabetes Association has been trying to do.
That is, it's fantastic work. And, it is simply phenomenal that in 3 days you got 700 volunteers, the majority of whom are below the age of 40. So I love to expound on youth, because quite often we only hear the negative side, the negative aspect of youth. So, good job, kudos, whatever you're doing to attract young people,
Mhm.
and just uplifting young people into things that are necessary to uplift their communities.
And
And
it is
something that
important,
you said,
Stacey, it is important for young people to become involved in the association, because as diabetes would have been known of a long time ago, or even not so long ago, as an old people disease. Of course, now we're
yes,
saying that's not the case, because more and more younger persons are
right,
developing diabetes.
that's right,
So everyone is affected. So that's essentially why everyone needs to be involved. And because
involved.
the association has kind of shifted the way that we do things, um, adopting a more youthful approach in some of our projects and some of our outreaches, I think that is attracting more and more younger persons to the organization to help and volunteer.
Fantastic. And I just want to pinpoint something that you mentioned earlier. You gave kudos to someone who was before you and who helped to mold you into the association. I think that is so important that you don't forget, quote unquote, the old guard, because everybody has a part to play. So we look forward to further calls for volunteers, and I'm encouraging all the viewers to look out and to like the Diabetes Association. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they have a website, and become involved. And we'll talk a little bit more later on how you can become more actively involved. Somebody just sent me a little secret that I'm going to share. So outside of all of this, Andrew is also a spin instructor. Thanks, Ruthie. I didn't even know. I wasn't aware of that. So Trinidad and Tobago is aware of it now. So if you're looking for a spin instructor, you can contact Andrew at the end of the show. So Andrew,
That's where Jyoti is. I was looking for her for my spin class yesterday.
Ruthie again made out. Now, Andrew, you mentioned we spoke about briefly your research. Give us a little more insight, if you can, on what you could speak about with regards to your current research.
Okay, so my main goal, or my main field of research, would be looking at non-invasives. And non-invasives meaning that we're looking for ways to monitor, test essentially, but also but monitor and track and screen for diabetes without having to use blood. Because of course, blood sampling is the main way in which you're going to be testing for diabetes to be able to detect diabetes, or pre-diabetes. So some of my methods are novel in that they have either not really been explored, or not really been explored to the extent that I am exploring them. And we look at markers in the body, which again are non-invasive, meaning that it doesn't cause pain. There's no
Right.
need to draw blood to get some of these indicators. So I'm looking at a suite of markers. Some of them are involving skin pigmentation, testing here for glycated proteins,
Right.
joint mobility of the fingers,
Yes.
and some other markers which again would not typically involve any pain, inflicting pain, and particularly this
Yes.
is important for children because of course even for adults we know that there are many adults, and in some studies that we actually saw that as much as half of the adults who need to regularly test their blood
Yes.
sugars avoid testing because of course of the pain of sticking their
Yes.
fingers in the lancet. So if that's for adults, and children is even more, it's even worse because of
Yes.
course children will be avert to getting stuck with needles, and we are limited in a sense that we're not really able to go out and screen children as we should.
Yes.
But if it is we have a non-invasive methods, then it will be pretty easy or much easier to capture that, at least a preliminary capture of data whereby we
Yes.
could detect children who are at risk and then pass
Yes.
them along to getting more and more, well, further testing.
Fantastic concepts, and I wish you success, and that something really authentic and tangible comes out of that research. Something definitely necessary, because as you said, even in the adults, I have clients who refuse to test regularly, all because Mr. Gill, I just tired, stick myself, that sort of thing. So all success for your research. So we
Thanks.
have some time left, and Andrew is prepared, has come prepared, and I'm going to hand over some of the next few moments to Andrew. Just as a reminder to all our viewers, I have 3 giveaways this evening. So be on the lookout. It means that you have to be paying attention to the live feed. The only persons who will be winning anything tonight have to be on the live feed, either through my Back in Motion Physical Therapy Services page or through my personal Facebook page, Stacy DeGale. So don't leave tonight, or else you might miss something very, very grand. So stay tuned. So Andrew, I'm just going to put your presentation up on screen so that our viewers can see, and I hand it over to you.
Sure. So thanks, Stacy. So I want to talk a little bit about the association and what we do at DATT and what we are doing for the month of November, because it's quite fitting that Stacy has started this series in Diabetes Awareness Month. So November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and actually this Saturday is World Diabetes Day. So World Diabetes Day is celebrated on the 14th of November every year. It started probably about 20 years ago, and it celebrates the birthday of Sir Frederick Banting, who discovered insulin, which was about 100 years ago. So every year on the 14th, we celebrate World Diabetes Day. This year, however, we know in Trinidad we have a holiday. So the Diabetes Association isn't really doing much outreaches on the day, and we hadn't planned to do much, and we were actually planning to do much more virtual activities. But it kind of fell into place because now we actually have to do more virtual activities because,
Yes.
of course, we can't be in person as we
Correct.
would have liked. So what I'm going to talk about is basically what the organization is, and the Diabetes Association has been around for the last 30 or so years, and to date we have about 5,500 members, 600 active members, and these are members who actively go to meetings and take part in events and volunteer. And we don't have a lot of employees, so we just have a couple of employees at our head office, which is based in Chaguanas. But we have many, many volunteers, and many, many volunteers who do the work of the association. And everyone here at the association does it free, gives of their time for free. None of us are paid. So it really is a passion of us to be able to do this type of work for Trinidad
Really,
and Tobago.
really service of love, because the
Exactly.
people, you will see as we continue the amount of work the Diabetes Association continues to do, and the novel approaches taken by Andrew under his leadership, and he's doing that purely out of service. So get involved, lend your support, Lend your
Mhm.
pockets where necessary, please. Thank you.
Exactly. So, and again, it goes out to all of the volunteers and all of the members of my board as well. They all contribute, and all of them are working professionals for the most part, and they all give up their time and they give up their effort and they give out of their pockets as well if needs be. So the association actually gets quite a lot done with quite a little,
Mm.
because of course we have that volunteer base. And we have a lot more to do. I am talking to you right now from our head office in Chibonas. And it's not a very pretty building because, of course, it's very old. And we are right now trying to renovate because at the head office here, we do testing and we have an administrative center and we do screenings daily for hundreds and hundreds of people every month at the association, most of which are free of charge. And of course, we do need assistance to renovate this space. We do need assistance to get this space functional. This building that I'm in is probably about 80 or 90 years old. So it's crumbling, and we do need that assistance. So I'm going to talk quickly about some of the activities that we have for the month that we're hoping to raise funding or hoping to raise funds for. The aims of the association primarily would be for education, advocacy, and research. So education, again, to promote the interest of diabetes education so that we work on prevention and also management of persons with diabetes. Advocacy, meaning that we are the voice for the voiceless. We are the ones who would speak up for persons living with diabetes when they have a problem. And if anyone does have a problem with diabetes, then they should contact us because we can now champion your cause. Another one of our major activities is research because, of course, the Diabetes Association works on finding answers to questions that we have in Trinidad that are unique to Trinidad. So research, me being a researcher and my background in research, um, especially as the president of the association, I'm pushing very much a lot of research activities and projects in the association. And of course, on top of that is screening, and screening is what we do a lot of. So screening not just for regular blood sugar or random blood sugars, but we've also started recently our HbA1c program, which I'll talk about quickly, and also diabetic eye screening, where we screen for retinopathy, cataract, and other diabetic eye diseases. We've started foot screening. We have lipid profile screening, and then we have a few other things that are coming on board. And all of these are free of charge, except for the HbA1c, which is just the cost of reagents because it's a pretty expensive test. So the association is spread across Trinidad and Tobago. Our head office is in Shibonas, by this little star here, but we have branches. Currently, we have 20 branches around the country. Those red little stars are the branches that we have. And the branches are not physical locations, but other groups. So we have groups, and these groups are well, they meet, and they mostly persons living with diabetes and volunteers and health professionals, and they would meet monthly, and they would also perform activities and outreach in their areas. Of course, um, we haven't been able to meet, or they haven't been able to meet since February, well, since the
Yeah.
end of March. But of course, we're trying to find out alternatives for that because, of course, at the heart of the association, we are a social organization in that members need to meet, and of course, the restrictions of COVID-19 have put a damp on things. But we are using it as we are taking it as an opportunity to expand and taking it as an opportunity to look at new avenues of reaching people. And we have been quite successful actually. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. The association is also part of a wider network of organizations. So the Diabetes Association is part of the International Diabetes Federation, which is a group of, we're a member of the IDF, which is a group of about 200 diabetes associations around the world. So the IDF representative in Trinidad and Tobago is the Diabetes Association, and we're also part of the NCD Alliance. And NCDs are basically non-communicable diseases. So these are diabetes, respiratory diseases, cancer, heart diseases. So these are non-communicable diseases, or NCDs. So we are part of the NCD Alliance globally, and also part of the Trinidad and Tobago NCD Alliance, the
Yes.
TTNCD. And we also affiliated with the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, which is again, NCD-based organizations and civil society organizations within the Caribbean. So we have a wide network, and we tap into that network for resources, and also to collaborate on projects. So
Yes.
the association has that wide network. The
And
main
I
thing I
think
do
it's
want to
important as well. I think it's important as well, Andrew, that it gives a certain level of credence to the association. We have so many groups that form out of someone's personal experience, for example, or you may have had a friend who died from X disease, and you start a movement for that, and sometimes it fizzles out. But
yeah.
having this reach and being part of a wider global audience really gives you more credence and gives you the support that you sometimes need. So that is fantastic to know that you're aligned. And I know all three of these organizations who are very, very active in the global realm. And the
Mhm.
Healthy Caribbean Coalition is doing a lot of work throughout the Caribbean in the past couple of years. So well done for that, and for that
Yeah.
continued, um, you know, representation. So thank you for that.
And the association is heavily involved in all of the HCC projects, and
Yes.
that really is, and as you said, the association is really structured in a way, and we have been. I've inherited something great, meaning as president, all of the presidents who would
Yes.
have come before me, and all of the members who would have come before me, laid the foundation.
That's right.
There's so much more work to be done, but there was so much that has been done before. So the
Yes.
association is really built on that foundation, and I'm basically standing on their shoulders, trying to reach more people and help more people, and ultimately make a dent, make a change in the amount of people living with diabetes, or affected, or having negative consequences when they do have diabetes. So that's really our overarching aim. So as I told you, this month is Diabetes Awareness Month. And again, a couple of years ago, we would have started Diabetes Awareness Month, where we would have not just celebrated World Diabetes Day on the 14th, but actually have a whole month of activities.
Yes.
So we were planning for this month since Diabetes Awareness Month last year in November. We were planning for this year. But of course, when February hit and March hit, we all had to change our plans. Because what we would have had to do, what we were going to do, we would have had our 5K, and last year we would have had about 1,000 persons attending our 5K. We would have had
Yes.
our symposium and exhibition. We would have had outreaches around the country with all of our branches doing testing and activities. Um, that can't or couldn't happen this year. And a lot of the plans that we had this year had to change. But again, we use that at our advantage, because of course we learn from it, and we
Yes.
use it as an opportunity to expand. So these are some of the activities we would have had for the month, or have been having for the month. So we are launching a magazine, and that's going to come out within this week. We are relaunching our website. We're going to the outreaches that we're going to be doing is we are going to go to 8 communities around Trinidad and Tobago, and doing diabetes eye screening. So we're doing retinopathy dilated eye exams, which should not typically cost you about $500, and we've teamed up with the Trinidad Eye Hospital to offer this free test throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And in fact, Stacy, next week on the 19th, we're coming by you in Point
Yes,
Fortin.
8.14, the best part of
Mhm.
Trinidad and Tobago, I dare say. But but I'm so happy that that we're having it here. And I was amazed, Andrew, as you mentioned that the space is filled up so quickly. So the Diabetes Association, along with Trinidad Eye Hospital, will be screening approximately 40 persons in a day. That is a massive amount of work. And all those spaces in Point Fortin will be went like that. So we're excited for that. And there's some spaces still remaining, Andrew, are there in other parts of the country for the eye screening? I think Andrew is a bit frozen. Hi, Andrew. I think Andrew is a little frozen. We're having some technical difficulties, but while we sort that out, the eye screening is such a phenomenal concept being done by the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And we're very, very excited that back in motion physical therapy services will be part of the screening process. So we would have our 40 pounds coming in at 8 and at 3, and as Andrew, $300 to $500 if we have to pay. So I think there may still be spaces in other places, other parts of the country. So if you are interested, just contact the Diabetes Association. You can drop me a line. You can email me at Back in Motion Physical. I can find you just in case you're interested to get your eyes screened. I think Andrew is back, so I'm going to add him back to the stream. You know, when we're dealing with internet, I don't want to call. Let's hope for the best and comes back on.
Yes, I'm here.
Andrew, you're back with us?
Yes, I am. I don't know what happened there. Stacy?
Nice. Andrew, hearing me? You're hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, I think.
Yes, I'm
I
here.
think we're back. So as I was telling our viewers, there's such a cost savings because with the eye screening, on average, it could cost anywhere from $300 to $500. And the Diabetes Association, in collaboration with Trinidad Eye Hospital, is doing this free of charge. Do you have any spaces available still, in case some viewers are interested in getting a whole living?
We do have a few spaces in Tobago. And I think a couple probably in Hyderabad left.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're
we
interested,
we
you can call the head
in
office and in Moruga. So there's some spaces left in Tobago. Don't be left out. Hyderabad and Moruga. So by tomorrow, all those spaces should be filled. Please contact the Diabetes Association. You'll see the number on your screen. If you or a relative is living with diabetes and you have not had your eyes screened in the past year, take advantage of this opportunity. So, Andrew, I'm putting back our your calendar up on the screen for the viewers, and they're seeing it now. So tell us more about this month of activity.
So besides the screening that we're doing on the field, we're also doing screening at the office. So we're doing HbA1c next week. We're gonna have HbA1c on the Friday, and then the following Monday we have diabetes foot screening, all free of charge as well. So you can contact the Diabetes Association at 672-0864. You see the number on the screen. You should be able to make an appointment for any of those free tests. So besides the screening, of course, the association has a lot more that we want to do. We want to show people what we are doing and we want to educate persons. And of course, we can't have a symposium as we would have normally had. So we're having our diabetes webinar. So this webinar,
Andrew, are you there? I think we're having some difficulties again. And of course, this always happens when you're the internet things occur. So have some patience with us this evening as we sort it out. But in the meantime, I want to
on
give away one our gifts. And the first gift is courtesy in the episode with our dietitian, Tracy, that we did share a veggie bag of a $150 value that Jace Neverson won. So we would like to give a fruit basket this time to a lucky viewer. Remember, you could only win if you're online. So, first question. Name 3 types of screening that the Association of Trinidad and Tobago will be giving at their head office. The first person who answers on any feed will get our veggie basket, courtesy the kitchen garden. Name 3 screenings being offered by the Diabetes Association at their head office. First person to respond will get that veggie basket. 2 seconds, Andrew listed them out a while ago. If you can name at least 2, you can also get it. So the first person, any takers? I'm seeing a lot of people on. Still waiting. Still waiting.
I'm here. Are you seeing me now? Are you hearing me
We're
now?
still sorting out the technical difficulties. Hearing me? It's just me. I know you all don't really want to see me by myself, but I'm seeing some. Gail Alvarez said the eye screening, the blood, and the A1Cs. Should I get that? Should I give it to her? Yes, I'm going to give the first prize to Gail Alvarez. So the Diabetes Association will be having free eye screenings, foot screenings, very important, and screenings for HbA1Cs. So Gail Alvarez is the winner of our first gift today, a gift of a fruit basket courtesy the kitchen garden. So congratulations, Gail Alvarez, and thank you for Omar, Sabrina, who also answered. There'll still be time to win some more in our show. Andrew, I'm adding back our screen,
I'm back.
and hopefully the internet will be cooperative. So welcome back, and we continue with your webinar.
Yeah, thanks for that. Oh, I think the screen is there.
Just add back. I think it just disappeared. Somebody just asked me where I got my jewelry. I'll tell you all about the jewelry in a little bit. And I'm deliberately wearing Got This Done by Natalie Howe from Decolte. She makes fantastic pieces because the international color for diabetes is blue. So I thought I'll do some sort of alignment with the international diabetes color of blue. And I will send you information. Somebody just emailed me. So don't forget, you can also email us. It hasn't come up yet.
While I'm pulling up the presentation, while I'm pulling it up, Stacy, do you know why it is blue?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I really don't. Because at one time, years ago, they used white. I recall them using white a number of years ago. So I'm not sure about the blue. Let's get a history lesson.
So, well,
This could
sometimes,
be
sometimes,
the answer to the
sometimes they
next
use
question.
gray.
So, right.
Let me put it back up. All right, so I'm hoping that it works now. Yes. So sometimes the color for diabetes it uses gray because gray is
Yes.
the gray top tube is
Yes.
the tube that you use when you're going to take a blood sample for diabetes. So gray was used,
Ah.
but blue was kind of adopted. Blue was kind of adopted because we wanted to, or the International Diabetes Federation wanted to align with the UN, United Nations, and their color of blue.
Right.
And the reason that we use blue is the blue signifies the sky. And the reason why we say it's the sky, it's because everyone is under the sky. And
Wow.
anyone can be affected by diabetes. Just as everyone is under the sky,
Yes.
everyone can be affected by diabetes. So that's where the circle comes in. So the symbol is that blue
Ah.
circle. So
Yes.
everyone is affected. Everyone can be affected by diabetes.
Oh, that's a
So
lovely
that's what.
story, though.
Mhm.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for that. So our
Yeah. So
screen
I'm
is
hoping
back
my
up with our
presentation
calendar.
works now. Yes.
Yes, and we're back up with the calendar.
So perfect. So I was talking about the Carlton Phillip Diabetes webinar, which replaces our
Yes.
symposium. And this webinar is on the 22nd of November. And we're partnering with the University of West Indies, Birmingham City University, and we have speakers from the UK, from the Bahamas, or from Bahamas, and from Trinidad and Tobago, of course. A full panel of nurses, nurses who are the head of their profession, leaders in their field, and we're focusing on the nurses this year because the international theme for diabetes, World Diabetes Day, is nurses and diabetes.
Yes.
International
Which is
theme for health is actually nurses and health this
that's
year.
right.
So this is the
This is the
International Year
year
of
of
the
the
Nurse.
nurse. Correct.
Exactly. And how fitting is it that is the year of the nurse when nurses are so important to us now, especially with COVID patients and the
Yes.
COVID-19 um, epidemic and pandemic around the world.
Yes.
So we are focusing on the importance of nurses and how nurses do make a difference in diabetes care. So we're gonna have this webinar. We're gonna put that out. We're gonna put out the link to register today actually.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that we have a lot of persons there, and we're gonna be teaching persons about diabetes. It's gonna be very interactive, very educational session on the 22nd. We've also
Fantastic.
launched because of course we didn't have a 5K. We wanted to make sure we engage persons because last year we would have had close to 1,000 persons at the 5K. But this year we want to be able to engage more persons, and we try to do that through social media. So we put out the challenges, and with the challenges there are a series of challenges that we put out on social media. The first one went out. The first one was the active challenge. The second challenge is the cooking challenge, and the third challenge is the care challenge. And for each of these challenges, we would have issued a sentence or one line challenge for people to do, and then they had to submit a picture to us showing that they completed the challenge. And of course, now those pictures are all on our Facebook page. We had over 50 applicants or 50
Wow.
submissions for the first one, and their friends are liking and sharing, and you could still join the challenge. So if you join the Diabetes Association page, you could be able to see the challenges being put up this Saturday, the Cook Challenge. And with that challenge, you can be able to win prizes every week, but also there's a grand prize of the most liked and shared picture or pictures of a weekend in Mayaro. So you get a weekend in Mayaro and spending money in gym membership. And so it's like a $4,000 prize you get for posting a picture and getting shares and likes. And of course, we want to engage persons. So we're hoping for the cooking challenge when we put it up this Saturday that we get far more entries than we did. Hopefully, we get 100 entries to the Cook
Yes.
Challenge. So let's see. And again, the active challenge would have been you just need to do some activity wearing something blue, and we would have had a lot of people entering in the last week. So you could go to the page, the Diabetes Association page, and you could see those entries right now.
This is
As I
fantastic.
said, the Diabetes Association. Uh-huh. So as I said, the association is driven by the volunteer work of the organization or the volunteer work of the members. But we need to raise money to do things because, of course,
Yes.
we need to buy things for testing. We need to to pay for advertising and other consumables that we need. And of course, we need to fix the building because, as I said, the
Correct.
building is crumbling. So we're having our main fundraiser for this month, which is the That Sweetness Charity Telethon. So we partner with Gael in the Caribbean, and on the 27th, which is Friday the 27th, 8 p.m., we're going to have that telethon. And with the telethon, you'll be able to donate via using a credit card. You could text to donate.
Great.
It's sponsored by DATT and DATT Life, who has been a partner of the association for quite some time.
Yes.
And they came on really big last year, adopting diabetes as a corporate social responsibility. So they've been doing a lot of diabetes work, and they've been supporting the association substantially since then. So we're trying to raise funds for the renovation of this building, trying to fix the office spaces, trying to
Yes.
fix these training spaces, and that's really what the telethon is all about.
So you're going to be live
So I
on
totally want to
Gael
announce.
Caribbean. We're going to be live on
Yes,
Gael Caribbean as well as on Facebook Live.
on Facebook,
With regards
yes.
to the telethon, yeah. And would we, after the
Mm-hmm.
telethon, still be able to contribute? Would there be something
Of
that
course.
after it's over? Yeah.
Of course, of course. So the
Fantastic.
link will always be there, and you can always contribute. The link should be up by this weekend actually, so persons could be able to contribute. So that's really what we are doing as the association. And I wanted to
Yes.
just talk quickly about diabetes in general, because I know
Yes.
many of your speakers, or all of your speakers who have come before me, would have all
Yes.
spoken about diabetes and given diabetes information
Yes.
and educational information and really good information at that. But I just wanted to bring home the point today
Correct.
about what is diabetes and why it is so important. Because
Yes.
although I'm not going to go into too much detail in terms of the background of diabetes, because I think that was covered a lot before, but I want to talk more about the prevalence and how important it is in Trinidad that we
Yes.
focus on diabetes. And of course, as we know, diabetes, just quickly, a lot of people seem to think that a lot of people think that diabetes means that your blood sugar is high. And that's only half the story.
Mm.
Really, the proper definition of diabetes is really an inability to control blood sugar.
Yes.
So you're not able to control blood sugar. So in fact, a lot of the times your blood sugar is actually low. So sometimes the blood sugar could either be high or low, and with diabetes, you're not able to control it well. And it's equally as dangerous when the blood sugar raises and drops. Even more dangerous in the short term when the blood sugar drops. So that's basically what diabetes is. And of course, a lot of people would also think of diabetes as having different types, and a lot of people in Trinidad misunderstand what the types of diabetes are.
Yes.
So most people may have heard type 1 and type 2, and for some people they think type 1 is the bad one and type 2 is the good one, or type 1 is the one that they look dry up and type 2 is the one that they look fat, but it's not so. The difference, type 1 and type 2 diabetes is actually two separate diseases. The causes are separate, so they are two separate diseases, but the outcomes are the same. So type 2 diabetes is the type of diabetes that people would seem to associate with diabetes. So when they think of someone having diabetes, it's usually type 2 diabetes. In 90 to 95% of the population, this is the type of diabetes you will have. And this is the diabetes because of what we would call impaired glucose tolerance and insulin resistance or insensitivity, which means that the body is making insulin, but the insulin is either not working properly or the cells are not responding to them properly, responding to the insulin properly. And of course, insulin is like a key. So insulin is
Yes.
basically the key that opens the doorways of the cells to let sugar in. So let it come out of the blood and go into the cells. And of course, your cells use the energy, use the sugar for energy, primarily your muscle cells. So if that insulin isn't working properly, then of course the sugar is going to stay in the blood and then cause problems. So you have type 2 diabetes, as I said, being the more prominent or the more prevalent form of the disease, and then type 1 diabetes being the rarer of the two. This, of course, is only in about 5% of the population, and it usually, you see onset very early in life. So you see onset as young as a few months old to early 20s. It's very rare that we'll find someone over 20 um, being diagnosed with type 1
With
diabetes.
type 1, yes.
But of course, when you do have type 1 diabetes, you have diabetes for your entire life. There's no cure for it. And this is essentially an autoimmune condition. Autoimmune in that your body's own immune cells attack the beta cells of the pancreas and destroy them. And these are the cells that make insulin. So essentially, you cannot make any insulin. And this happens over the space of a very short time, a few days it happens. So you'll see a child that's normal and healthy. And then all of a sudden, the child starts to lose weight, starts to pee the bed regularly, starts to get very lethargic,
Yes.
and starts to get very weak. And then you take them to the hospital and they have a blood sugar of 500. So in a couple of days, they would have developed type 1 diabetes. And again, we don't really know the reason for this. This is not because the child is eating unhealthy. This is not because the child is overweight. Because typically these type 1 children are very, very thin. They look very healthy and normal. Normal meaning not in the typical sense as we would think a diabetic to look like, a person living with diabetes.
Yes.
So type 1 diabetes, again, is the rarer of the two. But of course, these children need, or these people, because of course, these children grow up to be adults and they live long and healthy lives by using insulin. And they need to take exogenous insulin injections every day to survive. Of course, some people with type 2 diabetes, depending on the stage of the disease or how progressed the disease is, they would also need to take insulin. But for many of these type 2 diabetics, or persons living with diabetes, we would well they will be on oral hypoglycemic agents and
Yes.
also insulin at some point in time. And Stacy, let me just correct myself a little bit there, and it's been slipping sometimes out of my mouth, and it's something that we've been trying to change in Trinidad, the culture of the word diabetic. So in Trinidad and Tobago and a lot of places around the world, the word diabetic has always been used to describe a person. So you say a person is a
Yes.
diabetic if they have diabetes. But of course, you should not be defined by a disease. Being diabetic means using diabetic as an adjective to say, or rather being diabetic as a noun to say that you are a diabetic. And you should not be defined by a disease. If someone has cancer, you don't say they are a cancer or any other disease, right? So the correct terminology and what we are trying to get people to say is persons living with diabetes. So you live with diabetes,
Correct.
you're not a diabetic. You could have diabetic drugs, you could have diabetic feet, you could have diabetic diseases, but you don't have diabetic people. All right. So I've
And
corrected
it's so
myself.
important. That's fantastic. It's so important that we change that narrative because there's this almost this stigma almost with it and this feeling of depression associated with saying that I am a diabetic, as opposed to having some level of control and saying, I'm living with diabetes.
Yes,
I'm just living
exactly.
with it. It is not me. I am not diabetes. I'm not
Exactly.
diabetic. So thanks for reinforcing that. And again, to all the viewers, remember to start looking at yourselves and your relatives and friends as someone living with diabetes. Because as Andrew noted, we wouldn't say the person is a cancer. No, we would say the person is living with cancer. And the same must go for diabetes. Thanks, Andrew.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so we do need to change that narrative in Trinidad. So that's basically what type 1 and type 2 diabetes is. And for the most part, when we talk about diabetes, we're gonna refer to type 2 diabetes. Because of course type 2 diabetes would be again 95% of the population. This used to be called adult onset diabetes, but we're seeing it more and more in children. I'll tell you about that in a bit. But basically, the causes of diabetes are here. You have five main causes of diabetes. One is being overweight. Two, being not as active or sedentary. Three, overeating or consuming too many calories compared to the calories that you burn off. Four, hereditary factors, meaning if it's in your family. And five, if as you get older, things don't work as they would have normally worked. And of course, people tend to develop diabetes as you get older or have a greater chance of getting diabetes. So these are the five main factors that influence persons living with diabetes.
think we're just having some
But Stacy,
technical
which are the ones
difficulties.
that you
You'll be
think we
hearing
have
me
control over?
now.
Listeners.
Definitely, we have control over being overweight, being sedentary, and of course, overeating. We all getting younger. I always tell my patients, I don't say old age. My clients know me. I say we're getting younger, and we can't change who our parents, who our grandparents are, but we can definitely look at managing our weight, of being more active, and of controlling what we put in our mouth because we are the ones
Yeah.
putting it in. And it's ironic over and over, especially as we're now in COVID times, because we're living in COVID-19, and so many people now are working from home, that a lot of these lifestyle diseases are rearing their ugly heads. So we must be very mindful of that, as Andrew has stated clearly. All our other speakers have stated that a sedentary lifestyle is a major risk factor for developing diabetes. And so we need to move. And I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody that, well, I have meetings for the entire day. Encourage in your meetings that people stand up, that people walk around, encourage activity, at least, get up 5 minutes every hour or so, and stretch, do a brisk walk. Find the time. We got to move. We got to move, as diabetes is going to increase over COVID-19.
Exactly. So Stacey, I'm back. Yes?
Yes,
Yes, good. So yeah,
I'm
so
hearing
so
you.
so we're saying which are the things that we can control. So it's basically these three. So you can't control the family that you're born into, and you can't control getting older, although people would like to. You really can't control those things. Um, but of course, we can control how much you eat. You can control how much activity you have, and then ultimately, it may be very difficult, but you can't control your weight. So this is really the key to controlling and preventing diabetes. And again, diabetes it affects the entire body. So diabetes is essentially a disease of the blood vessels, and the complications are as a result of problems that occur because of this excess sugar in the blood, and inflammation um, caused. I'm trying to summarize as best as I can without going into too much detail, but basically excess sugar in the blood is going to react to the proteins in your body, and your entire body is made of proteins. This excess sugar, when it reacts to protein, it forms something called glycated products or glycated end products. And these glycated products, basically protein and sugar reacting, are kind of not native to the body. And anything that's not native to the body is going to attack. Anything foreign to the body attacks. That's what your immune system does. And of course, if you have too much sugar over a long period of time, there's going to be a lot of this glycated protein forming. And this glycated protein is going to form primarily in the blood vessels or the walls of the blood vessels. So after a while, you're going to have this inflammatory response, and an inflammatory response is essentially the immune system responding and attacking the walls of the blood vessels, because of course you have this glycated protein on it and inadvertently damaging the
Yeah.
blood vessels. And when these blood vessels are damaged, of course you have blood vessels everywhere in your body, from microvascular and macrovascular, or small blood vessels and large blood vessels. All of these blood vessels are affected. So in the eye, if the blood vessels are affected there, then you may have bleeding in the eye and you have diabetic retinopathy, which can lead to
Yes.
blindness. In the kidneys, you have these small blood vessels of the nephron, and this can lead to diabetic nephropathy. And of course, you could have decreased kidney function, which would require you to have dialysis and even a kidney transplant,
Yes.
as well as sexual impotence, small blood vessels of the reproductive system, and then of course the periphery, which are your fingers and your toes. So you're going to have numbness and tingling, and eventually loss of sensation and inability to heal properly. And then this is where you have the loss of limbs. And of course, diabetes has a heavy influence on stroke and and heart attacks, because of course um, this glycated protein and the inflammatory response actually is kind of the starting point to building up of that plaque that you would that may cause cardiovascular
Yeah.
diseases. So diabetes does have a heavy influence on cardiovascular disease and stroke. Well, cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, and stroke. So a lot of times you will see in Trinidad, the statistics show, and if you look at all-cause mortality in Trinidad based on death certificates, the number one cause of death in Trinidad is cardiovascular events, heart attacks, and strokes. Number two cause is diabetes, meaning that's listed as the first cause of death. But I guarantee you, if you go into the records of almost all of these persons who die from heart attack or stroke, you're going to see
They
that
would
they may
also,
have had diabetes exactly.
yes.
So it's what we refer to as a comorbidity in most circumstances, and even maybe a precursor to that, meaning that the diabetes actually is really what is linked or what is related or what even causes that. So I would say that diabetes is the leading cause of death in Trinidad, right? Because of course it
And there's
leads to all these
actually, as you mentioned, Andrew, comorbidities. Many persons didn't know that term until COVID-19,
Yes,
because every day you hear, whether it's locally or abroad, persons dying, but the majority of persons who died because they had a comorbidity. So I had a number of people asking me, what do they mean? I said, most likely these people had some sort of NCD, whether it is diabetes or some other cardiovascular event in the past, or they have ischemic heart disease. So
yeah,
diabetes in and of itself, because of these micro and macrovascular events and the inflammatory response that you just spoke about, really puts us at a disadvantage when it comes to healing from any condition. If you have the flu as somebody living with diabetes, your body has to fight
exactly,
even harder to overcome it.
exactly.
It affects every system of the
Mhm.
body.
But this doesn't mean it doesn't mean that if you have diabetes, you're going to get these other complications. It just
Correct.
means that if you have diabetes and you don't control your blood sugar,
That's
then
right.
uncontrolled blood sugar is what is going to cause the problem. So it's not that if
That's
you
right.
have diabetes, you're not going to live long, you're not going to live healthy. It just means that you need to consciously do things that normally your body
That's
would have
correct.
done, meaning normally your body would have unconsciously regulated your blood sugar through the insulin produced by the pancreas. Now, however, you need to regulate that, whether it is injecting insulin or taking medication or not giving
Yes.
the body as high of a glucose load by not having as much carbohydrates or not having or exercising more to burn off those carbohydrates. Those are the things that you would need to do consciously to control the blood sugars.
Correct.
Right? So this
Thank
is
you for
just
that.
a Yeah, so this is just a snapshot of what's happening in the world, and there are about 400 million people living with diabetes in the world, and that number is expected to go up to about 600 million by 2035, or thereabouts. That number is expected to go up exponentially, so it's increasing far more than it has ever increased before. Um, yeah, 2035. So we are expecting a 600, after about 600 million more people living with diabetes at that point in time. So of course it's a huge problem around the world, but especially here for Trinidad and in the Caribbean. So Trinidad, a lot of people think we rank very high, as number one in the world or whatever. But actually, based on the IDF statistics, and this would have been a while back, and we need to kind of revise this because since 2012, we haven't really done any type of countrywide data collection. And this is what
Right.
the association is trying to do. So this data may be a bit outdated, but at that point in time, we ranked kind of 19th in the world. For diabetes prevalence per capita. All right.
That's
Of course,
still too much.
it
Way
is.
too
It's too
much.
high. So we're not number one in the world, but we're in the top 20
Hmm.
out of 223 countries in the world. So we're very, very high per capita. Guyana is ahead of us. Belize is ahead of us. Not in a good way, but they have a higher prevalence of diabetes. But as I said, this is about 8 years ago. Within the
Yes.
last 8 years, so this would have been data that was collected from the STEP study in 2012. And within the last 8 years, the amount of fast food restaurants in Trinidad has increased substantially. The amount of activity people do in Trinidad has decreased substantially. So I expect that that prevalence may have shifted quite a lot. And again, this is part of the work that the association wants to do, to kind of figure out what is really the new number right now. But if you're going to look at numbers, the history of the data collection in Trinidad started in the 60s, where Professor Poon King would have done a survey around the country, and at that point in time, he got a prevalence of 2%. So 2% of the national population would have been identified as having diabetes, and 2% of the population on top of that would have been identified as having pre-diabetes, or IGT, impaired glucose tolerance. After that, in about 1996, and again, these are all of the studies that I could have found. There may be others, but these are all of the studies that I could have found about the prevalence of diabetes. In 1996, a study was done and it went up to 11% prevalence, so 11% within the space of about, well, less than 30 years, or about 30 years or so. It would have gone up to 11% in 1996. 2012, the STEP survey reported 13% prevalence. So it jumped from 11 to 13 in 2012. All right. And at that point in time, so from 1968 to 2012, you had 2% prevalence in the population to 13% prevalence, and 2% with prediabetes to 20% with prediabetes. So in 2012, about 33% of the population was either affected by diabetes or prediabetes. All right. Right. So that's in 2012. Now, however, we haven't really done work, but modeling and forecasting puts us between 13 to 16% prevalence. So this is the IDF Atlas. So this would have been in 2019, and we are at a prevalence rate currently of about 13 to 16%, and about 20 to 25% of persons with impaired glucose tolerance. So if you add that up, Stacy, you get close to 40% of the population. Close to 40% of the population, almost 50% of the population is heading to having either diabetes or prediabetes. So we're saying about 200 people living with diabetes, or 200 people in Trinidad and Tobago are living with diabetes, and about 300,000 people in Trinidad and Tobago may be living with some stage of prediabetes, or the condition where that is precursor to diabetes, where you have impaired glucose tolerance and hyperinsulinemia, which can be the point where we intervene. So this is why this number is so important, because for these 300 people, if these people now get education and get the support that they need to change their lifestyle, they would not become, or they would not develop diabetes. And again, it's so important. This is the point that we've been trying to make so much, and the association has been championing this. There's so much money spent on healthcare. There's so much money spent on persons living with diabetes. So I don't have the exact figure now, but it's a couple of thousand US dollars per year in Trinidad is spent on someone living with diabetes. So around 10,000 TT or more, the government would spend. With that money,
the last figure that I saw given by Minister Dialting was the last figure that I saw, I think in 2015, was 3 billion spent a year on diabetes in Trinidad and Tobago alone. And its complications.
It's actually the largest portion of the health budget. The spend on diabetes is the largest portion of the health budget. The most amount of beds in the hospital are taken up by people with diabetes or diabetes complications. So the thing is, the spend is so huge, but all of the money is being placed on the treatment. And a lot of the money is not being placed on the prevention. Because of course, if you invest and you try to prevent these 300,000 people now who are heading in that direction, then besides saving money, you're also going to save lives, and you're also going to save livelihoods and conditions and quality of life. So the association now is trying to educate persons to prevent this, trying to tell people what they should eat, how they should cook, how much they should exercise, and those simple pieces of information along with screening, because of course if you are screened and you detect prediabetes, then these are the persons we need to intervene. And this is why non-invasive screening is so important, because we can do it widely. Um, so this is why, again, I just wanted to bring on this point of this prevalence, and especially with pre-diabetes, it's where we need to focus on, because people with diabetes, for the most part, if you do have diabetes, there's no cure. And although there may be
Correct.
many snake oil salesmen on TV and on the radio telling you that there's a cure for diabetes and they could cure diabetes, and they've shown you that they could cure, well, no, there's nowhere in medical
Cannot.
literature showing there's a cure for diabetes. If you are diagnosed, well, right? So you can control diabetes, however. And what they actually do is they control diabetes and they tell you that's a cure, but that's not a cure, that's control. So control of diabetes is what we're aiming for. So we need to
Yes.
work with these persons. So the association has been working with, one, persons living with diabetes to improve their quality of life, but also two, persons at risk for diabetes, which again is this huge number, but also persons affected by diabetes. And persons affected by diabetes, I would say, is close to 100% of the population, because almost everyone knows someone living with diabetes, either in their
Yes.
family or someone close to them. So almost everyone is affected by the disease. And of course, this is why the Diabetes Awareness Month is so important to us, because of course, these are the types of messages we want people to kind of get in their heads. And especially for policymakers at the Ministries of Health and Ministry of Finance, and of course, private entities, private companies, corporate Trinidad and Tobago. This is where we need the support. And as I said, the Diabetes
Correct.
Association does a lot with a very little. So this is where we do need that support in these types of activities. And as I was telling you, children are also living with diabetes. So I would have mentioned type 1 diabetes, but also type 2 diabetes, which we would have typically seen in adults, which was called
Adult.
adult onset diabetes, is now being seen in children. So we actually have quite a lot of children living well, becoming diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or have pre-diabetes. So, and this kind of spurred us on, because this statistic came up to us when actually I was involved in one of these projects with Johns Hopkins, and we surveyed schools actually in Point Fortin, in your neighborhood, Stacy.
Oh
And this
Lord.
was actually in 2014. We did this survey, so it is dated, but again, it's the most recent data that we do have.
Wisdom.
And out of 3,300 schools or 3,300 students, we would have seen that probably 1/3 of children across all primary schools are either overweight or obese. So 1 in 3 children are either overweight or obese,
Yes.
right? And when we compare this data to the data in the United States, which we always want to compare obesity to, the most overweight children represented by this red line here is higher, meaning that our children at every age group from first year to standard 5 are bigger and heavier, more overweight than in the
Yes,
US.
than the US.
And of course, obesity is what is going to
And
drive the
straight across the
diabetes.
board.
Exactly. So the
And
statistic that is
Andrew,
being
one of
used.
the things we turned away, one of the things we turned away from in schools is
Mhm.
having physical education as a part of the curriculum. When I
Exactly.
attended school a few years ago, just recently, at Holy Faith Convent Penal, I remember that from Form 1 straight until Form 5, you had to engage in some sort of physical activity. You had
Yes.
something you had to get out on the field. It didn't matter. Yes, you had to pass the exams, but you also had to have balance in your life, and you had to have physical activity, some sort of sports as a part of your life. And that has
Of
gone out
course.
of the window in many programs. The only
Of
people
course.
who take part quite often in any physical activity are those who are actually doing physical education for
Mhm.
examinations. But as
Exactly.
part of your actual living in a school, that has gone out the window. And even in the homes, you hear parents say, come, you have to study your work. But what they don't realize, there are two things that help children do even better in exams. One is exercise, and the
Hmm.
other is music. I'm not saying
Hmm.
listening to music, but I'm talking about playing an instrument or singing in a choir or so. Those things actually engage your brain even more actively, and students who are able to balance with the help of their parents do better in school, and they're also healthier. And this is a very scary statistic that across the
Mm-hmm.
board, in all these years, in children, we are having this level of obesity, and we are having type 2 in children, because before we would say that's the adult disease. You would say type 1, you would find diagnosed in children, and then of course they grow up with it. But type 2 in children is scary, and this is a reminder to us all that we need to have our children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews more active outside. Teach them to play hopscotch, to play moral, to go play some cricket, some football, at least 45 minutes to an hour every day, 5 days a week. It's not going to affect them
Mm-hmm.
and their schooling, especially now where
Mm-hmm.
they're inside, they're indoors. It is vital, and that is the recommended amount of exercise for a child: 1 hour of exercise a day, 5 days a week. So thank you for bringing this to the fore and reminding us of it, Andrew.
Exactly, and it is needed, and the association is trying to champion this cause along with other NGOs in Trinidad to really push more physical activity in schools. But of course, that has kind of been halted because we're not in schools anymore physically, or we're not actually in schools anymore. We're all at home. So this needs to be pushed at home, and children need to become involved in more physical activity.
Correct.
So again, this is really the cause, or the main way we're going to tackle this. It is really at the heart of it, physical activity and also the diets of the children. All right, and of
Yes.
course, our 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 cuisine has shifted to one that is focused more on fast food rather than home cooked food. And I know you would have had
Yes.
the nutritionist on talking a lot about that. But again, those are really
Yes.
the sources of the problem. It's really having too much calories and not being able to expend those calories.
Yes.
So,
And the irony is, sometimes when we cook the food, and we compare it to what we buy outside, we vex after that we bought the food. We say, my home food tastes better than that. But we're not
exactly.
making that extra effort. Take your Sunday evenings to prepare your meals, at least for a few days, so that it becomes easier during the week.
Mm-hmm. So Stacy, I wanted to show you this on the screen. You see my screen now?
Yes,
Yes. So I'm
the
showing you
largest
Big
man in
Joe.
the world.
Right. So this was in 1903. And I just wanted to kind of bring home the point that people kind of need to check themselves, and that they may not think they may be affected by something. They may not think that they may have a problem, because, of course, if everyone else looks and acts like you, and then of course it wouldn't seem that you are different. It wouldn't seem that you may be having a problem. 100 years ago, if this man walked down the street, everybody's going to turn their head, because nobody was looking
Yes,
like this 100 years ago. So of course we would know that this man may be unhealthy, right? But these days there are people like them all around, and it's normal, or it's normalized. And of course, these
yes,
persons kind of neglect their health in a way, meaning that,
yes,
of course, they would think that they don't need to take care of themselves, or it might just not happen all at once. It happens over the period of time, and they really need we really need to intervene in these persons. So of course you'll be seeing people like this all over. This is 2012. This is Trinidad. I don't know when, I don't know who, but it's not, again, it's not unique
no, it
to the
isn't.
United States, right? So I wanted to kind of end my kind of formal presentation there, to kind of open up to more of discussions with
Yes,
you, and I could probably talk more about what you want us to talk about.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
and I also, but kind of the last thing that I wanted to show is about sugar, because I did tell you that that for one, the two main driving forces of diabetes would be, again, your diet and your physical activity, or lack thereof. When we talk about your diet, one of the main things we look at is sugar. And although sugar doesn't directly cause diabetes, as some people may think, and you may have grown up knowing that, or you may have grown up hearing that, if you eat too much sugar, you will get diabetes. I'm sure you heard
yes,
that, Stacey. I'm sure a lot of the
yes,
viewers here heard
yes,
that. That's not the case. If someone is healthy, they can eat as much sugar as they want. They can eat a whole cake, and then they'll be fine because the body has an ability to deal with that sugar.
Yes.
But if, however, you eat that cake and you don't do anything and you sit down there and you do that over and over, that sugar is going to turn to fat. And that fat is going to accumulate. And
Correct.
then that increased fat, increased adiposity is what is going to result in insulin resistance and
Yes.
essentially cause diabetes. So sugar doesn't directly cause diabetes, it's really excess fat. Excess
Yes.
body fat causes diabetes. But sugar is the precursor to that. Because, of
Yeah.
course, a lot of the extra calories that we consume is from sugar. And this has happened because, of course, we're now shifting particularly to sugar sweetened beverages. So one of the things that the association has been looking at and together with the Healthy Craving Coalition, is championing the cause of reducing sugar sweetened beverages, and we accomplished that with the Ministry of Health a few years ago, where we banned it from schools. So we
Yes.
reduced the sugar sweetened beverages from schools, and also we've been trying right now to revamp the labels. So we're looking at revamping the labels, nutrition labels in Trinidad and Tobago, where at the front of a label you would see high in. So if something is high in sugar, high in fat,
Yes.
a warning on the front of the label saying this is
Right.
this thing. Because Stacy, the thing with sugar, and I wanted to actually do this for the month. When you look at the nutritional label on the so say for example I have a bottle here, but if you look at the nutritional label at the back, do you know? I'm sure you know, but maybe the viewers might know. How do you know which is the highest concentration? Meaning, how do you know what is most in the bottle? Do you know, Stacy?
That's a good question.
Right. The order in which the ingredients are listed, the one that is first, that's the
It's the
most,
highest.
is the highest amount. One that is second, and so on, right? So if we were to look at the majority of products in our shelves in the supermarkets, and we look at the nutritional labels, the majority of products, food products that is, would have sugar listed either as the first, second, or third ingredient.
Yes.
Right? Meaning that almost everything has sugar in it and added sugar. So mayonnaise has sugar in it, mustard has sugar in it, things you mightn't expect having sugar
Yes.
will have sugar in it. And again, this added sugar is a problem, but the main culprit is sugar sweetened beverages. Because people
Yeah.
seem to think that, well, we all know soft drink is a bad thing because of course you have a lot of sugar. But people seem to think juice is a good thing. And actually, I think I saw one of your presentations, I think it was a nutritionist, would have been talking about juice. And juice is
That's
actually,
correct.
it's a bad word because the thing is that juice comes from fruit, yes, and fruit is healthy, but the fruit isn't meant for you to juice it, right? The fruit
That's
is meant
correct.
for you to hold because, of course, you have the fiber in it. So I always like to use the analogy. I always show people a cup, and I say, okay, so I have a cup, and this is a bottle. But if I have a bottle and I want to fill this with juice, and I have oranges, and I want to make some fresh squeezed, homemade, all natural, organic, all of those words that people use to market their product, say that it's good, and you squeeze that and you put it into this bottle. So you see how many oranges you think I might need to fill this bottle up?
To fill that bottle there,
Mhm.
you might need about, to fill that bottle, you
Yes,
might need about 10 oranges.
10 oranges. Okay, well, probably depending on the size of the orange, yeah. So you'll need a good few oranges. So let's say
A
10
good few.
oranges. Yeah. Let's say 10 oranges. So if you have 10 oranges now and you fill in this bottle and you're very, very thirsty, how long will it take you to drink this bottle of juice?
Huh.
So
There's
you're
a
very
trick in
thirsty.
here, Andrew. I'm very
Right.
thirsty. I'm just gonna down that
Down it
to down
in a few
it
seconds. In
in
a
a
few
few
seconds,
seconds.
yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah. So in a few seconds, you
definitely.
have 10 oranges worth of sugar in your body. If you were to sit down and eat those 10 oranges now, how long would you take?
Oh my gosh, you'll take uh, at least
Would
20
would
to 30 minutes
would you
and
even
you will
sit
be
down and
full. You won't be able
oranges?
to finish. By the time you
Exactly.
have two oranges, you tend to be filled because of the fiber content.
Exactly. So just by that analogy, we see that, of course, the juice from fruits, of course, the fruit is meant to be good, but the fruit is meant to be consumed as a juice. So
Yes,
even juices that we say is 100% juice or natural juice, all of those juices, sometimes 100% juice has more juice than juice drinks with added
yes,
sugar in it. So those sugar sweetened beverages are really the culprits. And a study was done by HCC, and of all of the countries in the world that was studied, 187 countries, Trinidad and Tobago consume the most sugar sweetened
oh
beverages
my
in
God.
Africa than any other country in the world. So 2.5 times more than people in Barbados and Suriname and Cuba
Wow.
and every other. So we consume far more sugar sweetened beverages than we need to. So this is really one of the culprits that we have been trying to work on. One of the culprits that again, through the association, through the HCC, is really one of the causes, and it's really where we need to have our influence.
That is amazing. I mean, I know Trinidad and Tobago, we've been first in many things. We've had fantastic athletes, we've had beautiful women winning Miss Universe and Miss World. But to be first in these categories or right or close to the top or in the top 20, it is an eye opener. I am
Mhm.
never going to look at a bottle of soft drink the same way again.
And actually, some soft drinks have less sugar than some juices. So there are some juices, and we did a couple of studies in Trinidad, and we looked, and the association would have had a graphic. I think I would have sent it to you, Stacy, some time ago, where we just measured all the sugar in all the
Yes.
bottles. And there are some juices that have more sugar than soft drinks.
Wow.
So, so it's something that again people need to be conscious, and just education by reading the labels. Read the labels and see what it is you're putting in your body.
There's a
All right.
particular person I know who's looking at the show now. I know her well, who says, "Oh gosh, I hate reading labels." But you know, it's going to take you a few extra seconds, and it could save your life in the long run, and
And
improve
there are many
your health.
and there are many persons like her either hate reading labels or don't know how to read labels. So that's
Yes,
why we are championing the high in label. And the high in label is going to have something at the front of the bottle saying
yes.
this is high in sugar, this is high in fat, this is high in salt. So it's
So at
easier
a
for people
glance,
to exactly.
correct,
And it has been shown throughout the world that this does change the health position of countries
yes,
just using these labels.
fantastic.
All right. So with that, Stacey, I think that's really what I wanted to talk about. I mean, we've covered the month and what the association wants
Yes,
to do, and also our work. But also as an appeal again, we need that support. And I would
yes,
be sharing our link, and I know you always share our stuff, but I'll be sharing our link for our page so people could go and fund or fund us by donating during the
yes,
telethon or for any other activity. And also they could reach out to us at any time. One of the main things that we are doing, and I actually didn't talk about it, is our app. So we actually, for the last 7 months, have been developing our Diabetes Association app. And the
yes,
app is actually something that is unique to the Caribbean. There's no other application like it in Trinidad and Tobago, no in the Caribbean. And we have developed it from scratch together with with a company from New Jersey. And we're launching it next week. And this app actually is going to allow you to monitor your blood sugar. It's going to allow you to log your blood sugars. I'm just pulling it up on my phone to kind of show the viewers a little bit um, the application. But basically, we have, I don't know if you could see the application on
yes. You
my
can
phone.
see it.
Yeah, but basically you could be able to log your blood sugars daily, and by logging your blood sugars daily and keeping a logbook, you could now be able to monitor your blood sugar. So we can see now graphs of
Yeah.
your time in range. We could see how you've been controlling your blood sugar, and then when you enter it, based on the values that you enter. So if you enter in HbA1c, it will actually give you advice. And if it is that you say, for if, for example, you
Ah,
enter something that's way too low or way too high, then automatic messages could actually go to your doctor telling them that it's way too low, way too high. This person could be in danger. The application, you could also, we also have risk tests. So you could sign on to the application and you could do a test. Just by answering some questions, it will tell you your risk of diabetes or your risk of developing diabetes. You can make donations on the application. You could become a member. We also have a lot of diabetes education on the application, as well as our
yes,
DATT shop. So the DATT shop we would have launched recently, and the DATT shop would have been um, where we would sell diabetes related products. So we have the diabetes shop here, and we have diabetes related products at the lowest prices anywhere, because again, the aim is just to get it to people that need it. So again, we had to innovate quite a lot, and next week we're going to be launching
yes.
that app, so people can look out for that app on social media, and on TV. We have a few TV spots for the rest of the week, and again, World Diabetes Day is this Saturday, so we are trying to get the word out as much as possible and get people educated and get people involved in the diabetes work.
And with the app, Andrew, would we be able to buy it on the App Store
So
or the Google Play,
right, so the app is
or would we
free.
be able to?
So,
Oh,
so,
great.
so the app is free for anyone. Anyone can use it. It's for persons with diabetes, but it's also for persons who are interested in diabetes. It's for persons whose family have diabetes, and it's going to be available both on the apps, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store.
Fantastic.
So from next week, it's called the DATT app, DATT. So you'll be able to download the application, or you'll be able to get a lot more information from our pages about the application.
Fantastic, fantastic. Somebody just made a comment. I want to put it up. Thanks, Dion. Dion Johnson Cellier is one of our nurses. So happy you have the nurse to Dion. Very experienced nurse, and she just gave a little tip that she's also given to her clients. A good habit to develop is to go shopping when you are full and when you have the time, so that you can take greater time in reading your labels, ultimately therefore making better food choices. So thank you for that comment, Dion, a practical tip for us who sometimes we rush into the grocery and we just pick up because we're busy, we want to get out of Massey or Passads or JT or wherever, and we don't read, we don't take the time. So that's a fantastic idea. Head to your grocery when you are full and or when you have the time, so we make better choices. Andrew, how can we become more active in the Diabetes Association? Do we call, do we message? Tell us what to do, because I have one or two people who just messaged saying they would like to know how they could be part of and how they can become a member.
Right. So to become a member, right now we only have paper-based membership where you need to fill out a form. But once the application is up and running next week, and and our website is up and running as well, or revamped website, you could go onto the website or the application and become a member. Becoming a member means, of course, you need to pay a subscription fee because there are membership um, entitlements there. But of course, you don't need to be a member. You can be a volunteer. And being a volunteer means that we'll involve you in projects. To become a volunteer, all you would need to do is you can message us on our Facebook page, message us on our Instagram, give us a call, and we have volunteer mailing lists that we will send out notices to people when we need help, when we have activities, and we also have WhatsApp groups for specific types of volunteers, for specific projects, and we can direct you there. So we've been trying to organize a volunteer program, and we actually have an entire training course for volunteers, which we, as I said, we wanna roll out either in
Yeah.
December or January, where we want to train at least 100 persons. To train them how to do blood sugars and blood pressures, how to talk to people, how
Yes.
to interact with patients, how and then of course involve them more in more specific roles in the organization. And again, with those 100 extra hands on deck, we're going to send them out into communities or the communities that they belong to do the work and reach out to people.
Yes. So thank you for that, Andrew. I want at this point just to ask a question for one of our giveaways. It is something that Andrew emphasized, and it should have been a figure that was burnt into our memories. And I am asking, what is the estimated number of persons who are pre-diabetic in Trinidad and Tobago? Pre-diabetic. There's a prize. You have 10 seconds to write a response. Don't call me. I'm not answering the phone. Write it live right now on the feed. How many persons approximately are pre-diabetic in Trinidad and Tobago? How many? I'm waiting for the answer for our giveaway. Our next giveaway is Sabrina. Sabrina, congratulations. Sabrina hit the nail on the head. Sabrina, I'm writing your name, and you are the winner. Thank you, Sabrina, for staying. Sabrina has been here from the very beginning, Andrew, and she's come on to, I think, almost every show as well. Oma, you got it as well. You're a bit late though. Oh, thank you so much for taking part. And Sabrina, you have gotten a lovely, healthy, and nutritious hamper that is made with products and made with anybody living with diabetes or who has been diagnosed with pre-diabetes to still enjoy eating. You will receive a basket of banana and oat bread, poppy seed muffins, and flaxseed and oregano bread. So very filling, very healthy and nutritious. Just remember your portion sizes. Don't eat out the basket all at once. So congratulations, Sabrina, and thank you to Cake Temptations. The number is on the screen if you would like to order. I just had a piece before of just a little piece of flaxseed and oregano bread, and it was delicious and very filling as well. So that was my supper. So thank you so much, Cake Temptations. And we have one more prize. Andrew, can you ask our viewers a question for them to answer so I can give out this final prize? This
Easy
final
question.
prize, you make it a little difficult because this prize from Beauty Essentials, and the number is on the screen, is a self-care goodie basket. So it consists of a lovely aromatherapy setup, diffuser, charcoal natural soaps, blotting paper for the face, oils, things just to pamper ourselves and things to make your skin even richer and healthier, because we know for persons with diabetes, the impact it can have on our skin could be a little dry. So this is a time for you to pamper your hands, pamper your feet, relax a bit, especially during COVID-19 with all the stresses associated with it, courtesy Beauty Essentials. So Andrew, hit them with a question.
So maybe a very easy one. So I've spoken about the challenges that we have on Facebook and Instagram, the challenges that we put out to people, and there are 3 challenges that we have. Can anyone name the 3 challenges that we have? It's just 3
Come,
words.
viewers, just 3 words. If you all don't answer it, I know the answer. You have 10 seconds. There are 3 challenges that you will find on all the pages of the Diabetes Association. You have some time to go onto their Facebook page now, their Instagram page, to get the answer. What are the 3 challenges that form part of this year's celebrations for diabetes awareness?
And the first challenge is already out. We already have people submitted almost 50 pictures. The second one is going to be out on this Saturday. So this Saturday at 4. The second one is going to be out, and the third one will be next Saturday.
There are 5 more seconds. 5, 4. Listen, don't tell me I have to keep this self-care box to myself. That'll be a bit of nepotism if I do that. No takers. The questions may be a little too hard, but let me tell you the answer. Active, cook, and care. So go to the Diabetes Facebook page, their Instagram page, and you will see all of these challenges, some of which have rolled out already, and follow them so you can see all the activities that are happening. And to give them one easy one, I have to get this self-care.
What's the international color for diabetes? Diabetes
Easy.
awareness. Easy.
People, I am wearing it. First person to answer, the international color for diabetes. Blue. Congratulations, Natasha Thomas. You have won your self-care box. And I must say, Natasha has been on almost every show as well and has been one of those people who have asked a lot of questions. So well deserved. Thank you, Natasha Thomas. And Miss Singh, Oma Singh, I am, because you have been here throughout, I will be organizing a fruit basket for you from the kitchen garden, courtesy the kitchen garden. So thank you all so much for taking part. Andrew, it has been a pleasure having you with me, having you with us on this journey, and to tie in everything that we have been discussing over the past couple of weeks with regards to living well with diabetes. And it is imperative that you, the viewer, remind yourselves, remind your family members and your friends that we can live well with diabetes. If you have been diagnosed and you can control your disease, you can control it with diet, exercise, medication, and stress management. Very, very important. There needs to be a balance of all four. And you saw and spoke to our experts who are here, our diabetic nurse educator. Hit me up, send me an email if you want her contact information. Our dietitian, our ophthalmologist, our physiotherapist and wound care specialist, and finally, Andrew, the president of the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago, who continues to do such fantastic work for us. So, Andrew, I am signing off while I just chat with the viewers just for a quick moment again. Thank you so much. We will be in touch very, very soon, actually right after the call.
Yeah.
And again, thank you. And thank you for the work that you continue to do. And you said something that is so key, that you are standing on the shoulders of others. And very soon there'll be persons who will be standing on your shoulders, because you have continued the good work and you have done exponentially well for persons living with diabetes in Trinidad and Tobago and the wider region. So grateful, and we will be in touch very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you.
And to our viewers out there, as I said, it is bittersweet. Today is our final installment in this, the first series of Real Time with Dr. Stacy, where we focus on living well with diabetes. And I thank all of you for being such a good audience. More than good, being great, being fun, taking part, and learning through this process. And I urge you to share this information with everybody. Share, go to my YouTube channel, Back in Motion Physical Therapy Services, and you can look at these videos again. You can also look at these videos through my Facebook pages. Thank you so much to all of my sponsors, the Kitchen Garden, very, very happy. And our winner, Jason Everson, was very happy for his token. Um, to Beauty Essentials, to Cake Temptations. And if I could give something to all of you, I would. But we're going to have more shows like these. And I'm asking you to please send via email, via Facebook, via Instagram. Send me some of the topics that you would like to be discussed right here on Real Time with Dr. Stacy, because this show is about improving all our health, about improving all our wellness. And we can only do that together. Somebody again just sent me a message asking me to show the jewelry that I have that was done by Decolte by Natalie Howe. And I'm wearing Diabetes Blue. Yeah, wearing Diabetes Blue. She makes fantastic pieces. So this is her contact number right here. Again, this show would not have been possible without you, without our sponsors. Continue to share. And please, starting from tomorrow, I will be posting on my Facebook pages some of the questions that you asked offline, some of the questions that we could not get to while we were live, so that you can have the answers that you need. Remember, sometimes it's very difficult when you go to the doctor's office to get all your questions answered. And Real Time with Dr. Stacy is another opportunity for you to feel comfortable, to speak openly, to ask the experts on our show, and to get the information that you require. So don't forget, you will be hearing from me before the end of the year, but we're going to have another big series early in 2021, but we're going to have a lot of things happening in between. So, ladies and gents, it has been a pleasure. I thank all of you so much for being here, for staying the course. Thank you so much, Miss Singh, for your encouragement. And we will see each other very, very soon, right here on Real Time with Dr. Stacy. But stay close to your Facebook and Instagram pages and subscribe and like us today, tonight, and share the information, because we are here to work together to improve our health, to improve our wellness, not just our physical well being, but our mental, our spiritual, and our social well being as well. So, on that note, I say farewell just for a while, but stay tuned to Facebook and YouTube for much, much more. Have a good night, guys, and remember, we can live well with diabetes. Take care.